Hello, Yates County and beyond. Welcome back to another episode of Invasive Species Friday. Through this short weekly podcast, we at the Yates CCE hope to bring you information about the invasive species you may see around this county. So let's get started with this podcast's first invasive insect, the Hemlock Woolly Adelgid. This aphid-like insect was first brought to the U.S. from Japan via infested nursery stock. It was first found in Richmond, Virginia in the 1950s, but is now established along much of the East Coast, from Maine to Georgia and the eastern providences of Canada. It was found in New York in the 1980s and reached the Finger Lakes in the late 1990s and early 2000s. In North America, the Hemlock Woolly Adelgid goes through 2 generations each year, both of which are female and reproduce asexually. The sistens, or overwintering generation, are present from June until the following March. The providences, or spring generation, are around from March to June. These insects are spread from tree to tree by birds and other wildlife, the wind, and by humans. There is a second form of the spring generation that has wings, but they don't survive in the US. The spring generation lays eggs in batches of 25 to 125 in a white, woolly ovisac on hemlocks. They go on to hatch in late June or July. Both generations have 6 stages of development. First is the egg. The second stage is the newly hatched nymph, known as a crawler. It's reddish-brown in color and very tiny, less than half a millimeter in length. Once the crawler picks a spot to feed, they attach and stay in that spot for the rest of their lives. They spend much of the summer in a dormant state. In mid-October, the crawlers begin to feed on the tree again and continue their development through the rest of the instar stages, growing legs and molting to become longer and wider. By early March, the sistens have matured into adults. They are now about 1.5 to 2 millimeters long and coated in a heavy waxy substance. They lay on average 50 to 175 eggs, but up to 300 eggs in a woolly ovisac, which will hatch into the spring generation. Those providences go through the same life cycle as the first generation, only much faster. Because these insects are so tiny, an infestation isn't spotted by looking for the insect itself. Instead, look for white masses at the base of the hemlock needles. As they feed, they produce a waxy substance that builds up around them in strands, lending to their woolly moniker. To the untrained eye, the masses may look like spider sacs or scale insects, but these lookalikes aren't typically found right at the base of the needle pressed close to the twig. The adelgids feed by inserting their mouth parts into the base of the needle and sucking out the plant's stored starches. This disrupts the flow of nutrients to the twigs and needles, resulting in needle loss and branch dieback. Hemlock Woolly Adelgid infestations cause the tree's overall health to decline, and most trees die within 4 to 10 years. Let's pause here for a moment to reflect on the importance of hemlocks in eastern forests. They are slow-growing, shade-tolerant trees and are often found on exposed slopes, protected gorges, and stream bottoms. Fully grown hemlocks represent a mature and productive forest ecosystem. Stands of hemlock create cool, damp, and shaded microclimates of unique soil and water conditions. They have shallow branching roots that help filter agricultural runoff and other pollutants and prevent sedimentation. The hemlocks surrounding reservoirs and lakes keep the municipal water supplies clean. They also shade streams, keeping them cooler in the summers, providing ideal conditions for native fish species to thrive. Furthermore, hemlocks are home to several bird species and numerous arthropods, and are a winter food source and shelter for various wildlife. The eastern hemlocks are the primary species attacked by the Hemlock Woolly Adelgids, but any hemlock species is vulnerable. The New York State Hemlock Initiative is a Cornell University project that coordinates statewide efforts to conserve hemlocks. Their research focuses on developing biocontrol options for dealing with the woolly adelgids. Additionally, they use public outreach to increase awareness of the threats to hemlocks. Check out their website at blogs.cornell.edu/NYS Hemlock Initiative to learn more about hemlocks and Hemlock Woolly Adelgids, including chemical and biological management methods. If you find these insects in your yard or on your adventures, please make sure to report your findings on IMAP Invasives. And that's it for this week's episode of Invasive Species Friday. Next Friday, we'll be investigating an iridescent insect attacking our ash trees. Until then, we at the Yates County CCE thank you for tuning in and supporting our fight against invasive species in Yates County.